best place to teach. Hello everyone, my name is Taylor. I'm an English teacher here in Korea. I'm from the US and I've been here for 5 years. So one of the things was students cleaning the classroom. So that's something I did not expect teaching here, because back in the US in schools, we would have like a janitor who cleaned. Of course, after every class, the students would probably clean up their space. But as far as cleaning the whole classroom, students didn't do that. So that was actually surprising to me here, which, you know, I guess it does create a form of responsibility in them. Also, even the other day, actually, not just students, but also parents and teachers cleaning. So to prepare for students coming back to school, the field in our school, there were teachers and parent volunteers like picking weeds off the field. And again, that was something I was really surprised by, because back home we would probably have a groundskeeper at the school whose job was to maintain the land. So to see teachers also helping out to keep the school clean and looking great, I think, you know, it was really nice to see, but also really surprised me. So that was one thing that surprised me. Another thing, which is kind of funny, was students being allowed to sleep in class. So back home, that would not fly. That would not be okay. If a student was sleeping, the teacher would just be on the student. They wouldn't hit them or anything, but you know, the student would get in trouble. When I first saw it, I was a little shocked by it. And I was like looking at my co-teachers like, are you gonna do something about this? Then I started hearing about other experiences, and even from other teachers. Oh yeah, like, you know, sometimes students come to schools tired because they're up studying all night, or, you know, there's some other factors, and so it's okay, just let them sleep. So another thing, subjects aren't divided by levels. So I don't know, maybe it's different for middle school and high school here. I only have experience with elementary, but especially with a language class, back in the US, we would have different levels for students. So if students were low-level students, they would all be in the same class. And then sometimes you would have students from different grades. So it wouldn't be divided by grade, it would be divided by your level. So maybe you had 5th and 6th graders, or, you know, all in the same class, but they were all the same level, and then you would, you know, adjust by levels. That's something I was surprised by that wasn't here, because that's one of the challenges as an English teacher here is, yeah, having to adjust my teaching style and the material I teach students of all levels understand. So that's something I was surprised by as far as teaching. So another thing, I was surprised that teachers only stay at one school for 3 or 4 years, which is something completely different than the US. So when my co-teacher first told me that, I was like, oh, you're not gonna be here next year? Because, you know, I had so much fun teaching with her. I was like, oh no, you helped me this year. You gotta be here next year. But she was like, no, we have to switch schools, you know, every 3 or 4 years. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Same with principals, because back in the US, teachers would stay at the same school as long as they wanted. And I had one of the schools where if you had lived there for a long time, your parents probably went to the same school and had the same teacher, you know? So that was actually also surprising. I think Korean students were about what I expected. And I think mostly because of their age. Kids are kids. Kids will be kids. I think overall, Korean students definitely are more well-behaved than American students, but they're less inclined to ask questions if they don't understand something. In the US, they encourage students a lot, like, if you don't understand something, raise your hand, ask as many questions as possible. Here, I think they don't want to. Or I think it's the fear of, you know, how they will be perceived by their classmates if they ask something. And I think that's something cultural, you know, because I have heard the same thing from other teachers. I feel like here that students and teachers have more of parent-child relationship. So I make a lot of videos about my life in Korea, especially about teaching here. So a lot of the people who comment on my videos are not only Korean, but are also from countries outside of Korea who want to also teach here. And so I want to go through some of the comments they have about teaching Korea and just read some of them for you guys. That's so true about reciprocating students' energy. Looking back, I thought it was so funny whenever my teachers did something silly, even as a high school student. Something about seeing your teacher act more like a normal person is so amusing to students. Yeah, this is one of the things that I answered when someone asked me, how do I make a connection with my students? And part of that is showing my personality, which I am naturally a more fun and just silly person. I think naturally Korean teachers are more reserved. Me coming in as this loud American who isn't afraid to dance or have a little fun with students and makes them drawn more to you and makes them want to get to know you better, want to try to speak English with you. And so that's one of the ways I find I connect. So yeah, it's nice seeing that also in the comments, saying she also has noticed that as well, because I think that's something that I've done well with my students. Oh, I did not expect this video to get as popular as it was. I mean, and this one I think was really popular from people outside of Korea. You have challenges working whatever job, and I think one of the ones I mentioned in this video is technology. Yeah, I think especially language learning here is more technology based. Me being just shocked by TVs in every classroom, having to use some sort of technology for every class is definitely different from the US, at least when I was in school. So YouTube has given teaching Korea more exposure than I think it ever has, especially these days, because this is what people look for. People look for, what do apartments look like in Korea? People look for, okay, I'm teaching at school, what is the lunch like? What is the job like day to day? I think YouTube as a whole really has been promoting Korea in that way, and there's just so much exposure of it, because if you look at teaching in Japan, you look at teaching in China, there's not nearly as many videos. And honestly, Korea is the best place to teach. So I'm glad it's getting the exposure it is, because it is really a fantastic country to teach English in. So in this video today, I talked about some things I didn't expect teaching here in Korea with my school and my students. I hope you guys found this video interesting. If you did and you liked this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you later. Bye!